morning, good afternoon, good evening all. It's Bear here. And I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, A Box With No Lid. A channel dedicated to not only raising awareness and understandings around complex trauma, but also really starting to delve into ways of healing it and improving the quality of life for all of us who've experienced trauma, whether it be early childhood or later in life. Now, in this next playlist, I'm, as I said in the previous video, I'm stepping into the mechanics behind everything that is going on. I want to really delve into some of the layers that we need to have a working understanding of to be able to really start to make some change. Now, the ultimate goal of healing is belonging. So these are around attachment, these are around connections and how the layers of responses that we have. Now, in this first video, these videos are going to be in a part 1 and a part 2, and they're going to be released at the same time. Part 1, I'm going to kind of show you, talk about what it is and its effects. And part 2 is going to be ways of working with it and implementing things that can help you heal or change, what is going on. I'm going to try to keep these. The reason doing the 2 parts is it gets a little complicated, and there's 2 different ways of looking at things. Because when we go through trauma, if you're being confronted by something that may be going on with you, we get defensive. So the defensive is more in the first part, and the being open to exploring is more in the second. That's kind of my intention here. And I'm hoping it is beneficial. Let me know in the comments on how this plays out for you guys. So, in this first video, besides the obvious that, pacing ourselves is really important, I want to get into one of the aspects of this. Because it's one of the things I see a lot. It's one of the things I experience a lot. And it's a real obstacle in creating meaningful change when you've gone through trauma. Really, particularly early childhood pre-verbal, but also any form of abuse traumas and all of this. This one is a real obstacle. And what I'm talking about is our neurophysiological process, our nervous system, and how much of a part it plays in all of our interactions, not only with people, but with our environment and the world around us. And it's starting to become aware of this and the part that it plays. All of our cycles, all of our reenactment cycles and negative self-fulfilling prophecies and all this stuff is played up and, is all tied up in this and plays out in this. Also, one of the key parts of healing trauma is we need to have a safe, supportive base. And that means our relationships and connections and friendships need to get a little deeper. And this is an obstacle to that, hence being the first part of the mechanics. Now, what I mean by a neurophysiological response, think of it in the way of muscle memory. Now, if you go to make yourself a cup of tea or coffee, all the muscle responses to getting the cup out of the cupboard, the spoon, opening the can, jar, whatever. You have, you don't need to think in great detail in doing it. That's muscle memory. Well, take that mindset to all the interactions you have with people in a day. How much of the depth that you go to in these interactions is purely muscle memory? There is no real thought behind it. And whenever things start to get real, your nervous system, you stall. We stall. Our body does not know what to do next. The thing with real connections is there's this to and fro, this backwards and forwards that grows to a comprehensive, in-depth understanding of each other's ecologies and person to create a working ecology together. to whatever degree that is, whether that's a work relationship, a social friendship, or a more inclined towards a romantic relationship. This to and fro is as much, well, to me, it is about 80% body, 20% verbal. There's all of our senses get involved, pheromones and smells and sounds and postures and mannerisms, and all of these things are being read by our neurology, our neurophysiological structures, our nervous system. And there's this interplay, this interaction of to and fro. That is how we build real connections and real relationships. And it's not just once, it's an ongoing process to create that depth of connection and understanding each other. But when you go through complex trauma, or when you've experienced pre-verbal early childhood trauma, the ability for the body to interplay never develops, or is betrayed to the point where it is shut down and is far too dangerous to use. So we stall. And, plenty of people who go through trauma, from the outside, we have a functional life because all our interactions are superficial. It's the moment things start to get real that the problems start to arise. Now, there are two ways our nervous system deals with this. For a lot of us, we withdraw. As soon as we stall, we end up doing something, saying something, picking up on some cues. We go, I can't do this, out. People start talking behind our backs. They misconstrued our intentions, whatever. There's a whole myriad of layers of responses that we get. But ultimately, we don't want to make the mistake of harming others, so we withdraw. Then there are the others that will push and push and push to go to that more extreme, to where the set of instructions that they have will work out. Because once we hit that stall point, the way past it is, for the most part, is we have these set of instructions. Well, if I dominate this conversation, then I'm safe. If I get the person doing what I want, then I'm safe. If I curtail to all their wants, I'm safe. There's this set of instructions within our body. And a lot of that is tied up with what we did throughout traumatic experiences. And particularly when you're looking at complex trauma, because it is multiple type and multiple event. What our body did to survive, what we did to get through all those years, is the instructions that we will follow in those interactions to try to emulate an environment that we know we can survive in. Now, all this stuff runs in the background, but it is why our interactions will play out in repeating cycles. And again, there's a lot of layers to this and a lot of ways of looking at this. But it is really important to understand that the first step is consciously recognizing that stall point. Because that's where we can implement change. Now in the part 2 is where I'll get into some of the things we can implement. But in this first part, it is starting to become consciously aware of that stall point, where our body does not know what to do. And part of the awareness stuff for people out there who are with people that have gone through complex trauma, our body literally, this is not, when we stall, when we don't respond, when we don't interact or don't engage, we're not doing this to piss you off. We're not doing this deliberately. We literally freeze. We literally do not know what to do. And there's a transition from a neurological response to a cognitive set of plans, set of instructions. And we're searching for the set of instructions that we can follow to better appease this situation, control this situation, or be safe in this situation, or usually get out of this situation. So that gap is the stall, is that it can be a few seconds, it can be a few minutes, it can be a while. but understand that it is not deliberate and we don't control it. And when we're trying to heal it, we need to take a little bit of control, which is recognizing that stall point first. And that's what I would hope you can get out of this first video. So as I said, start to look at this in the way of muscle memory. You have learned a set of instructions that kept you or gets you safe or maintains your survival. Most of these instructions were developed through your traumatic experiences or as a direct aftermath of your traumatic experiences to survive. Those are the instructions that are the muscle memory. And those are the instructions that we need to work with to change. So recognizing this is the first step. And it's going to take a bit of practice, and you're never going to do it all the time. We have so many layers of interactions each day. But the key is that, 7 times out of 10, we recognize this is when my body's stalled. That's the first step. And when we do this, we can start to work with it. And as I said in the part 2, and I'll be releasing both parts 1 and 2 together. So take a bit of time now to think about, integrating what I've talked about. And start to look at some of your previous interactions over the last few days and start to go, where did my body stall? Where did the to and fro of feeling, of sharing, of sensory interactions, of where they smile, you look, where did all this interplay of human connectedness? This is not just romantic, this is on every level. This interplay of human connectedness, where did it stall? Because that's the point. When we recognize it enough, we can start to heal. So as always, please be mindful. Please be kind and gentle with yourself. I always look forward to your feedback. And stay safe, and I'll see you shortly.